Greetings to you wherever you find yourself on this Christmas day. I'm the Reverend Julia Hamilton, minister here at the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara, and it is my great joy to welcome you to our collaborative Christmas morning service. This service is a joint effort of ministers from our Central Coast cluster of Unitarian Universalist congregations coming together to share this Christmas morning message with you. So feel free to put your feet up, sip your coffee or tea or cider, sing along with the carols, light a candle or a chalice along with us, and know that you are not alone this morning as we gather in this new way. For our opening words and chalice lighting this morning, I've adapted one of my favorite readings for this season by the Reverend Victoria Safford, The Moment of Magic. Now is the moment of magic, when the whole round earth turns again toward the sun, and here's a blessing. The days will be longer and brighter now, even before the winter settles in to chill us. Now is the moment of magic, when people beaten down and broken, with nothing left but misery and candles and their own clear voices, kindle tiny lights and whisper secret music. And here's a blessing. The dark universe is suddenly illuminated by the lights of the menorah, suddenly ablaze with the lights of the Kinara, and the whole world is glad and loud with winter singing. Now is the moment of magic, when an eastern star beckons the ignorant toward an unknown goal, and here's a blessing. They find nothing in the end but an ordinary baby, born at midnight, born in poverty, and the baby's cry, like bells ringing, makes people wonder as they wander through their lives what human love might really look like, sound like, feel like. Now is the moment of magic, and here's a blessing. We already possess all of the gifts we need. We've already received our presents. The joy of music, the twinkling of holiday lights, and hearts united to build true peace on earth and to hold each other in love.
Merry Christmas, everyone. I am Reverend Rod Richards, and I serve as minister of our congregation in San Luis Obispo. It is wonderful to join with our cluster of congregations for a Christmas Day service. I want to talk briefly about two of the most popular Christmas stories ever. I mean, okay, sure, there's the one about Jesus, actually more than one about Jesus, and those are great. But the two I want to talk about today are A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, sometimes called Scrooge, because the main character, Ebenezer Scrooge, is so captivating in a diabolical kind of way. And the other one is How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss, with a main character that is equally captivating in an equally diabolical way. Both hate Christmas for slightly different reasons. If I could work my will, says Scrooge, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. As for the Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. They both hate Christmas, believe it to be, in the words of Ebenezer Scrooge, humbug, a fraudulent celebration. But it's not even really about the holidays so much. They are not particularly fond of others. So you can see why these two have such bad reputations. You may have said to someone, or had someone say to you when you were being crabby or rude or less than generous, don't be a Scrooge, don't be a Grinch. But here's the thing. You probably already know that this is not where these stories ended. This is not where these characters ended. Both characters experience profound transformation in these stories. Yet culturally, we have trapped them in their pre-transformation plight. Granted, the stories of their post-transformation lives are not given many pages in either story, so we have a longer exposure to their most unpleasant traits. But both stories are about transformation, positive change. To simply ignore that, it seems to me, is distinctly un-Unitarian Universalist. We are all about the possibility to awaken and embrace larger, wider, deeper understandings of ourselves and our relationships to others and the world around us. We are all about salvation by character, the ability and responsibility to choose what is most compassionate, just, and equitable. Don't be a Scrooge, we say, meaning the Scrooge at the beginning of the story, the Scrooge who was miserly, mean, and bitterly uncaring. But is that Scrooge? Is the Scrooge at the end of the story something other than Scrooge? Wouldn't we, as Unitarian Universalists, say that indeed he became more fully himself, more boldly claiming his own inherent worth and dignity by recognizing, celebrating, and honoring through his actions the inherent worth and dignity of every other person? Don't be a Grinch, we say, meaning the Grinch at the beginning of the story, the Grinch who was hate-filled, nasty, and evil in his intentions. But is that the Grinch? Is the Grinch at the end of the story something other than the Grinch? Wouldn't we, as Unitarian Universalists, say that indeed he became more fully himself, more boldly claiming his own inherent worth and dignity by recognizing, celebrating, and honoring through his actions the interdependent web of all existence, joining with the who's in community, even carving the roast beast, for goodness sake? If these authors gave short shrift to what it's like to live into transformation on a daily basis, it is up to us to write the remaining chapters. Because look, we have all had those transformational moments, not necessarily spirit visitations or cardiac growth spurts, but those little bursts of awareness that call us into a wider, deeper, more meaningful life. And we have choices in those moments, and they had choices. Scrooge might have woken up, wiped the sleep out of his eyes, and said, "Thank goodness that dream is over. All this Christmas talk has invaded my sleep. Can I have no peace? Christmas, bah, humbug." The Grinch, upon hearing the Who's singing way down in Whoville, might have said, "These creatures, these Who's, they really are something. They sing like they're happy when their houses have nothing. I hate them the more, these insufferable peasants, but at least I take comfort in stealing their presents." They could have turned away from the opportunity to change, but they didn't. Scrooge reached for a life beyond the cruel calculation of greed and financial gain to connect with his fellow humans. The Grinch reached outside the cynical superiority of his solitary existence to risk joining with others in community and giving of himself. Don't be a Grinch. Don't be a Scrooge. I beg to differ. Be a Scrooge. Be a Grinch. And Merry Christmas.
A very Merry Christmas to all. It is so good to be able to be with you today. I am the Reverend Dana Worsnop from the UU Church of Ventura. And on this Christmas Day, I share with you one of my favorite Christmas stories, as told by UU minister Frank Rivas, who was a child in the 1950s, long before we could buy anything online, and when we found each other's phone numbers in something called the Yellow Pages. A Cautionary Christmas Tale by the Reverend Frank Rivas. My little sister Renee was 10 years younger than I. When she was in kindergarten, I considered her the most obnoxious child on this planet. So I decided to get her a lump of coal for Christmas. I know that people generally consider it Santa's responsibility to give lumps of coal to bad little children. But I had learned over the years not to trust Santa's judgment. I'd seen it over and over. The old man went easy on little kids. So the responsibility fell to me. I searched the Yellow Pages and went to the nearest coal yard, picked out an exceptionally large chunk of coal, wrapped it nicely in a box with a bow, and placed it under the Christmas tree. Our family encouraged recipients to lift, shake, and guess at the contents as soon as a gift was under the tree. And Renee was fascinated. What gift could possibly weigh so much? By our Christmas morning tradition, the gifts were all sorted into 4 piles, then one at a time, going around the circle as many times as necessary, we opened our gifts for everyone to see. Renee opened mine first. As she unwrapped ribbon, paper, and box, her excitement grew. My excitement grew too. The moment of reckoning was at hand. From her first glance at the coal, she loved it. She screamed with delight and hugged me profusely. How was I to know that only a week earlier in her kindergarten class, she had learned to grow colorful crystals on coal? How was I to know it would be her favorite gift? There's a moral to this story, my friends. Watch out for this season. There's a spirit in the air that can turn even the most vindictive thoughts into good deeds. And so may we all watch out for this season indeed, for it does have a way of transforming anyone into the fullness of our Grinchy, Scroogey, loving, big-hearted, deeply connected selves. May it be so for us all, and Merry Christmas to everyone.
sing, you'll be for us. La 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus. La 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 la. Follow me in merry measure. La 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide treasure. La 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 la. Pass away the old year passes. La 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 la. Hail the new ye lads and lasses. La 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 la. Sing we joyous all together. La 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 la. Heedless of the wind and weather. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la
Merry Christmas to you. My name is Reverend Nika Eaton Gwynn, and I'm beaming into you from Chalice Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Conejo Valley. And I'm so delighted to be able to join you today on this special day and wish you a wonderful, precious time with friends and family, a special celebration. To honor Christmas Day, I wanted to share a winter blessing with you by Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker. In the shadowed quiet of winter's light, earth speaks softly of her longing, because the wild places are in tears. Come, she cries to us, kneel down here on the frosty grass and feel the prayer buried in the ground. Bend your ear to my heart and listen hard. Love this world, she whispers. Distill peace from the snow and water the cities with mercy. Weave wonder from the forest and clothe grief with beauty. Rest in the rhythm of the turning year. Trace the bending arc rounding the curve toward justice. And vow anew to do no harm. The winter trees stand watch, haloed in the last gleams of the slanting sun. Glory sings here. Heaven echoes the call. Repeat the sounding joy. Make your life an answer. So, my friends, I pray for you that you may repeat the sounding joy today and all days, and make your life an answer to our call for more love and peace in the world. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas! This is the Reverend Maddie C. Fontus of the Universalist Unitarian Church of Santa Paula wishing you a wonderful Christmas Day. And this is a story of a song that was written about this time of year, One Horse Open Sleigh. You may know it as Jingle Bells. The person who wrote it, James Pierpont, came from a town that's near Boston. Its name is Medford, Massachusetts. And when I was a little girl, every weekend we would all pile in the car and head to my grandparents' house. Those days, most people lived near their parents, and many generations lived not far from each other. But way back in the 1880s, before there were cars and in the early days of trains, most people got around by walking or by transport like horse and mule-drawn coaches, or in the winter, they went on sleighs. I moved to California 8 years ago this month from Massachusetts, from a town named Wayland. Wayland is not far from Medford. My grandparents lived in the town next to Medford, and we would drive through Medford to visit my English immigrant Grammy and Grampy Turner. In Wayland, many of us sing the famous carol, and probably many of you do too, written by Edmund Hamilton Sears, who lived in Wayland in the mid-1880s and was the minister of First Parish in Wayland, my home church. And in fact, I used to play in the cellar hole of his house when I was in elementary school. It was right next door. If you sing all the 5 original verses to Sears's carol, It Came Upon the Midnight Clear, and you listen closely, you will realize it's an anti-war song. One of his parishioners and a friend of his was Lydia Maria Child, who wrote another famous song that we sing at this time of the year, Over the River and Through the Wood. I know a lot about her because her house in Wayland was very near my house, except that she lived over 100 years before I did. She wrote her words about going over the river to her grandparents' house to celebrate Thanksgiving with them and their family. Nowadays, it takes trains and cars and planes and who knows what to get to our grandparents' house. And she grew up in, guess where? Medford, where James Pierpont grew up, where he wrote the song we know as Jingle Bells. And guess what? It was also originally written as a Thanksgiving song. As you might expect, our story begins with a one-horse open sleigh, which was his original title for the song. Medford was home to a series of sleigh races that used to occur on a street called Salem Street, and because of this event, which pretty much happened in the middle of the 19th century, these sleigh races, which you could pretty much call drag races, went down this street and was one of their most popular events. And because of that, and the influence and inspiration of the song, it is believed that it came from those races. Pierpont was inspired by those races. If you go to Medford today and you walk down High Street, you can see a plaque which reads, Jingle Bells composed here. On this site stood the Simpson Tavern, where in 1850 James Pierpont wrote the song Jingle Bells. The plaque goes on to say that he wrote the song in the presence of one Otis Waterman, who later verified that the song was written there. He had it copyrighted in 1857, though, while he was living in Savannah, Georgia. Before we go to Georgia with him, we might want to remember that he wrote the song in a tavern. He wrote it in a bar, and that one of the great industries of Medford those days was producing rum. And if you really think about the lyrics of the song, which we will sing in just a moment, and really think with the lens that these are drag races that are happening at top speed on sleighs down the center of the street, that makes you agree it's probably a drinking song. But to make it even more complicated, the members of the Savannah UU Church believe that Medford stole their song, since Pierpoint didn't copyright the song until he had moved there to become the church musician of the Unitarian Church. Today, the Savannah Church is called the Jingle Bells Church. Pierpoint had married the mayor's daughter, and off he went to Savannah. And during a Thanksgiving service there, he led the congregation in a rousing rendition of Jingle Bells. They loved it and performed it again a month later at Christmas. And that's how Jingle Bells became a Christmas song, Savannah's Christmas song. Unless you live in Medford, that is, there it is Medford's Christmas song. One more thing about Jingle Bells. Some 115 years after it was written in a pub in Medford, Jingle Bells became the very first song ever broadcast to Earth from space during a Gemini mission in 1965. So now won't you join me and get on our one-horse open sleigh and ride? Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to laugh and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lank, misfortune seemed his lot. We got into a drifted bank, and then we got upsot. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Merry Christmas, everyone.
As we close our service, let's share one more song. A hymn that you might know the words to. You can sing along at home or just let the music wash over you. It's not a Christmas song exactly, but it seemed fitting for this moment to close with a song that carries a message of peace and goodwill for all people and reminds us that we are all in it together.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding. Who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we
So now we extinguish our chalice, but not the spark of life that unites us all. As you go about the rest of your day in this beautiful and heartbreaking world we share, may the light of love shine upon you, out from within you, be gracious unto you, and bring you peace. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.